you are planning to get married, I want you to watch this video by Apostle Michael Orokpo. Let's listen and hear from him.
See young people show up and say, I love him, I love him. A godless man who have no destiny. I love you, I cannot do without him. And they didn't write it. Who told you that you should marry who you love? If the person God chooses for you, you love him, that's good. But whether love or no love, you marry because that is the will of God for you. When you find the will of God, you begin to train your emotion to align with the will of God. So when we are joining people in marriage, we don't ask, do you love him? We don't join people based on emotion. We join people based on covenant. And so when God is prosecuting marriage, the marriage contract is based on the covenant of God. It's not based on your feeling. If it is based on your feeling, the moment you love him, you are married. But God will not recognize that emotion until you follow the ordinances of the kingdom. Because when you follow, as you get married, after 5 years, you will discover that thing you are feeling is no longer there. You now discover that feeling is for 6 months. When you come back from honeymoon and she becomes pregnant, the shape will change. Those things you were looking at that led you into the marriage, you will discover they are not part of the contract. And even if the man you married with a big chest and a slim tummy, after 10 years, you will discover that there are so many layers of the tummy that you didn't see. The woman you saw that was walking like this, after 5 years, you will discover layers that you didn't see. So at that point, even if you stop loving, you will still keep marrying. Because the covenant is not based on emotion. It's based on the oracles of God. And so, when God begins to train you in life, what he will do is that he will introduce the law of life. The law of life brings you to that point where, like Jesus in Gethsemane, you will say, not my will, but thine. Because you have come to understand that his will is superior to your will. Now, you can choose your own will. But if you choose your will that is not in alignment with his will, you will find the repercussion in eternity. The word that does not change. And so when men begin to grow, they will discover that they will begin to learn to choose the choices of God. And when you do that for a while, I said the third thing that happens is that he will open you up to his word. That's when discernment is activated. You will no longer see after your sight, and you will no longer hear after your ear. You will function by the frequency of another word. That realm will now open to you. That's when you become a wise man. A wise man is not a man that has facts. A wise man is a man that can peep into the crystals of the spirit and can determine what God is doing per time. And so in the olden times, when men are confused, they look for wise men. Wise men are not old men. Wise men are not young men. Wise men are men who can pick the frequency of God. And so when kings were confused in those days, they will call the wise men and ask them, why is this thing happening like this? And men like Daniel will tell you, give us time. There's a God that revealed secrets. Because he's wise, not because he has facts. He's wise because he can hear from another world. What do you do when a king comes to you and tell you, I have a dream, but I will not tell you? If you can tell me the dream, then you can interpret it. Where will you read it from? It's not in a book. But a wise man is not limited to facts because he hears spirits. He sees the spirit realm. And so when he shows up, no matter how complex that contradiction is, vistas will open. Frequencies will come. Those frequencies are what gives him an advantage in life. And when those frequencies begin to come, then you have moved from the natural, you have entered the supernatural. But for you to come there, the joy of the Holy Ghost, the law of life will refine you. Because if those laws don't come, you will still be thinking according to your emotion. You will still be thinking according to the distraction in your environment. But when you have mastered those first two, then the third one will happen naturally. And you will stand up one day and say, God told me to go.